Comfort can become your greatest enemy in life. Comfort. I call it the comfort zone. Now, there's nothing wrong in being comfortable. Right now, I'm seated on a seat here that is comfortable. It's nice, it's beautiful. But the problem of comfort is that sometimes it tends to make you want to stay there. And staying in a comfort zone can be very detrimental to you, can be dangerous, can cause you not to be able to see things the way they are. What do I actually mean? Anybody who is in a comfort zone, you'll find that most of the time they do not develop, they do not grow, yet they look like they're doing very well. There are some of us or some of you out there who are listening to me that have become comfortable. Why? Because the job you are working in, they are paying you well, or simply because you have bought your own house, you have that car, or you have those 2 cars that you have in your family, or you have whatever things that you're having. Those things have given you some form of comfort and you feel you are okay. The problem with that is that you do not develop. You don't even realize that there are bigger things that you can be able to achieve if only you can decide to come out of your comfort area or your comfort zone. Now, Jesus speaks to us in the book of John, chapter number 12, verse 24, and says words that I looked at these words and they really blessed me and also challenged me. He says that most assuredly I say unto you, unless a grain of wheat falls into the ground and dies, it remains alone. But if it dies, it produces much grain. Unless a seed falls on the ground and dies, it will keep on being alone. In other words, it will have no productivity in it. It will not have no produce in it. But when it dies, it is buried, then it will bring much fruit. Now, in 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 36, Paul writing to the Corinthian church, he says, foolish one, what you sow is not made alive unless it dies. Now, I know these 2 scriptures that I've mentioned, that many times you go to meetings, you'll find them being used when you're collecting offerings and what have you. But that's not where I am right now. It's not about offerings. I'm actually talking about you. And what I want to challenge you, because I want to help you to come out of your comfort zone. I want you to understand, for you to actually get out of your comfort zone, the first thing you must do is to die. Now, when we talk about dying, we're not talking about natural death. No, far be it. And God forbid that you should die before your time. You need to live and live and live and live until we say you have lived enough, or until it is that you have actually lived enough. So I'm not talking about physical death at this moment, but I'm talking about dying from things that have given you comfort. You see, until you understand that you need to die from the comfort of your job, or until you understand you need to die from the comfort of the salary that you're getting right now, or from the comfort of whatever else that is holding you back and causing you not to move on, until you understand that you have to die from that comfort, you cannot be able to transit from one thing into the other thing. If we will talk about death for a moment, you will need to understand that death is a moment of transition. Death is a moment of separation. Death is a moment also of being hidden. The beautiful thing about death is that when you transit into that form to the other form, it is actually like a metamorphosis that takes place in the life of an individual. You come from one form into another form. So what am I saying? Whenever you actually understand the importance of dying as self, today you declare that I'm dying from the comfort that I've been having, and I'm dying from the way I have been. I'm dying from the habits that have actually hindered me from progressing. I'm dying from the mindset that has hindered me from moving forward. I'm dying from the attitudes that have actually caused me not to be able to do what I need to do effectively. I am also dying from this sense of fear, and this sense of feeling hopeless, and this sense of feeling like as though I'm good for nothing. I am dying from that. What you're basically saying is that you're allow yourself to transit from one form of who you have been into another form of something else. Now, the beautiful thing is that every moment you decide to die to something, when you come back again, you don't come back the same way. Jesus says when a seed falls down and dies, when it comes forth, it will come forth as a seed that has been multiplied. In other words, the very law of increase becomes a reality for you when you understand what it actually means to die. Today, I want to make a challenge, and I want to make an appeal to every one of you that is listening to me, that you need to look at areas in your life that have given you comfort, areas in which you have discovered you are no longer growing or you're no longer developing. Those particular areas, you must deliberately and intentionally kill them today. You must say, you know what, I am dying in as far as this is concerned. I will no longer walk like this. I will no longer continue enjoying this particular place I am in. I will no longer continue enjoying the position of just being average or the position of just being okay. I am getting out of this position. We have some 4 men that are recorded in the book of 1 Kings, 4 lepers that are recorded in the Bible. The Bible says they were living outside a city. And those 4 lepers, while they were living outside the city, inside the city, because of a wall that was there and because of that city being surrounded by a certain army that was an enemy to that city got itself in a place where there was a lot of hunger in the city, a lot of fear in the city. The gates were closed and nothing was going on in that city. People were in a very, very, very bad state. And in fact, there was so much, it was so bad. The Bible records that inside that city, people started eating their own children because there was no food and there was hunger. Now, outside the gate, there were these 4 lepers who were extremely hungry at the same time. They were suffering the same sufferings the people in the city were suffering. But listen to me. They looked across yonder, and the army that was actually threatening them was harboring tents there. They seemed to be celebrating. There was a lot of food. There was a lot of joy across the valley where the enemies were and where the enemies were getting ready to attack this particular city. The men there, the military men there, were busy eating their food, and they were busy celebrating and doing whatever, drinking their wine and what have you. And these lepers were looking across, and they asked each other, listen to me, the 4 of us, they talked to each other and they said, listen, where we are seated right now, we may look like nothing much is happening because nobody is threatening our lives, in the sense that nobody right now is actually interested in doing anything to us or killing us. The truth of the matter is, we can actually decide just to stay here and stay here and stay here and die. When we go back into the city, inside there is no hope there because there is actually no food. So we are even in a better position when we are seated where we are. Across yonder, we are seeing a lot of food there. The only problem is that is the enemy's camp. And they asked each other, if we stay here, we die of hunger. If we go across there, we probably will die because the enemy will actually kill us, and kill us quickly. They compared the 2 kinds of death. They realized that the death across there what might be a better death because it will be a faster death compared to the death here that was going to be propagated because of hunger and lack of food and because of fear. And they told themselves, let's do this. Why don't we just go to the enemy's camp? Let's go there. You never know. They might actually have mercy on us, and they might actually take us in, and they might actually give us food. You never know. In other words, these 4 lepers decided, you know what, we are going to come out of our comfort zone, and we are willing to die. So the first dying they did was the dying of getting out of their comfort zone. And they decided to move to the enemy's camp with one mindset, that you know what, we are going there to either die or we are going there to be saved. That is the kind of mindset they were having. They had that only in mind. Now it's amazing that the decision they made touched heaven. The decision they made came to the ears of God himself. And God looked down there and he said, I sometimes like dramatizing things and making them look a bit dramatic. And I look at heaven and I see God saying to the others up there, and then he's saying, wow, look at these 4 men. Look at them. He calls Jesus, hey, look at these 4 men. Look at what is going on. They have made a decision to get out of their comfort zone, and they have decided to take a risk and go into the enemy's camp. Now you need to understand, people who are willing to die are people who are willing to take chances. They are willing to take risks. What that basically means to me is that if I am going to create wealth in this world, is I'm going to become prosperous, and if I'm going to see my finances taking a turnaround, I must be willing to take chances. I must be willing to die to things that are giving me comfort, and more so, I must be willing to take risks. Sometimes risk will basically means getting out of your job that you're so familiar with. Sometimes risk means coming out of the family that you're so familiar with, coming out of a place that has been your place of comfort and saying, you know what, I'm going out there, whatever happens, but I'm going to do it, I'm going to face it, and I'm going to be there. Whatever the situation, I am going to do it. I'm challenging some of you. Some of you literally need to come out of your villages and your cities and your towns and relocate to a different location. Why is that so? In that different location is where something good and something powerful is waiting for you. Now, these 4 lepers, the Bible says they started moving towards the city. And guess what? When they started moving, because heaven had seen the fact that they decided to come out of that comfort area, that place where they thought they were safe, they had decided to come out of that safe area. The Bible says and records to me that God decided to convert their feet into the sounds of horses. In other words, their feet became like chariots of horses and armies that were moving. And that sound was so loud that the enemy across the valley started hearing the horses. The amazing thing is that the armies could not see what was going on across, but the armies could hear, and they had the rumbling and they had the noises of the chariots and the horses. And the enemy said to themselves, is these people seem to have gotten themselves back up from somewhere. There is a great army that is coming with chariots to attack us. And the Bible records that the enemy camp, they deserted their camp. They deserted where they were. They ran away in fear, trembling, and leaving everything in that camp. They left the food, they left the wine, they left the water, they left their things, they left their tents, they left everything. They took off into the hills and completely disappeared. By the time the lepers were arriving there, they were shocked to see that, well, we thought there were people here, but the only thing they could see was food that was welcoming them and telling them it is enough. They were good enough. They went back to the city and said, you know what, across there, the guys have left, but the food is there. They have left a lot of food. Let's get the food and get ourselves back to form. Now, what am I trying to say? Whenever you get out of your comfort zone, when you decide to die out of the comfort that you're having, you will always produce. You will always become very productive, and you will see results of your productivity. The lepers came out of their comfort zone. They went and did something very risky. What is it that you can be able to do that is risky today? Is it leaving that employment? Is it leaving that home that has kept you? Is it leaving that person who has actually seemed to be in control of you and kind of made you look like you're as though you are okay? Some of you women that are listening to me, you are living with a man, and the only reason why you are living with that man is because he is supplying for you. But listen to me, that particular man, you know you're not supposed to be with him. You know you're not supposed to be doing what you're doing. But because of the comfort he is giving you, you have decided just to be there. Listen to me, I am challenging you right now. It is time to rise up and move from there. It is time to decide to come out of that comfort. Take the risk, move and go and do something else. You never know. When you move and make that move, you never know what might be waiting for you across yonder and across the valley. I'm here to challenge you. It is time to die. Get out of your comfort zone. I love you guys, and as always, I always want to be real. And remember, I keep on saying in different videos that let's meet in the field of the millionaires by getting out of our comfort zones. God bless you so much. Let's meet in the next video, and I'm so glad you've watched to the end. Bye-bye.